I'm going to take it away right now. And the band coming out right now here in Austin, Texas, live at the Spokesman in Safehouse, the Reeks.
Hello. What's up, Society of Spectacle? Friends move away. And I am still the same. Same face with the same pace. Trying not to drown. Maintain the values of common ground. Try to pretend that I'm not scared. But honestly, it's getting kinda hard to bear. It's just so fucked up. Take my greater heart. Rock conditions so slanted for so few. Can you tell me what else I do? I just dream of something else. Cause right now that's all I want is something else. Says to exist, says to exist, says to exist on something else. Yo, 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 we're the Reeks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in on the tube and here in the live studio audience. Here we go. This is a song called Violence. Thank you for listening. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Another day, another reason to conjure up you. 'Cause every day, I don't say anything to empower you. The silence, fucked up violence, I is in a home. Still it feels anything. But then I saw last reflection is shit to reconcile. Every day we just had to try to such multiply the silence. Fucked up violence and it's in a home. Down by everything that we let slide. Give up to what we see in our lives. Still it feels anything, 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 anything. Violence is the dominant, the violence is the dominant. Thanks, y'all. Hey, Reeks. Hey, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Live stream to you and your stream. All right. Get us about it, and the beat. Set us about the motivation, baby. Set us about you all alone. And we're under the sand. Shoulders hand. Time rolls down, time rolls down. believe, you believe in something.
Which one of y'all is glitter pie?
It's a good question, Matt. Is NASA thinking about this? Around it, but I'm just lost in every year. Try to get around it, you try to find some place in the sun to be survived. It's a day that just ends up in the fall. Loving all you need, the happiness around, waking up sleep. Going on a down, consider something sweet, something wrong, something easy, but not new. Thanks, y'all. It's true. All right. Hold on a second. Yeah, I always wish I was a talk show host. Not good enough for the banter, though.
Shout out to Tori, who doesn't have a Twitch account, but is watching.
We're loving it here in Austin. This is a newish one called Generations. Souls. And I know it's more than for better convenience. Now my time has played. It's not living on my niche, not living on my Every survive. Don't have to rely. And it's showing.
This one is for Jack Band. Jack Band.
Questions every answer we all take. Doesn't matter. I'll shine it. And bosses should call it on this game. Hey, that's not change. Conversation cannot take. That's what the oppression is saying. Blessing, what's in it? I'm a privileged man.
Thanks, y'all. This next one's also a newish one. It's about being haunted by your own inner thoughts, about confronting them. It's okay. The outside world is kind of fucked up. It's okay to feel fucked up from that. And that's what this song's about, fighting your own inner demons. What?
Let me hear it.
Thanks, y'all. All right.
Just another bear, just another bar, just a neighbor. There's no confidence in all that way. Stop, 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 shoot, stop, gotta go. got the ball. The arm that I know it keeps my way. Start to say something that says why would take from them what I'm doing in the vibe because it's not a problem to do but I'm not a bit of pain just for the living for the ways that now bad God now let it on so you just can't see any other way today another trial but in the blood that we call ways in the turbo child's life the hope of it creates lose a moment remind me of the shot up on the shit but I'm out of just for the world and all the ways that no man can no let it on so you just can't see any other way of the year, reaching out for its souls. Go sing a hero, fucking dreaming. That bunch of you is where you wish you could be. You never ended on your eyes of it. We never put it on. No, I'm not. It's a fight, it's a death. No, there was control life. Lost that memory.
Thanks, y'all. We got about 2 more. How are we doing on time? Awesome. Well, you want to do final days?
What about that song we played, Warming Up?
Yeah, you can do that one.
I don't know, we gotta kill the time.
All right.
I sat on the phone, knocking on the top of the salvation. I said, I'm not dead, I'm dead, holding on. I get up, I'm dead, I'm a monster. No, everything's determined by the railroad and flying on. I think bullshit. That just riding on. That is the most thing. Riding on. Riding on.
So this one, this one's about, it's about the environment, how fucked it is. Enjoy it while you can.
Something to do. Priority and values that you choose to live like that. Way to choose when there's a full of toxic and stuff you're trying to move. Let them know it's plastic and nothing ever moves. Way to tell your children the way it does the house. Everyone was on the another way to die. Back to planet system. Overpowering emails to try to achieve. Way to choose ordinary acre forest. Way to dawn time. Now it's for a week and time. Now you have a system. Now you have a life. Doesn't mean enough for you to find a way. For a change, for a win, or something small. There's a value you should do on it. Matter of the outcome of something they try. Understand it, but what do you think they try?
Next show, we got, I think, one more for you. Good call.
Thank you, Redbeard.
Yeah, thanks, Redbeard 26.
Suspicious of who that is.
This is some. We got tapes. This is on it. This is one of them on it. It's called Cages. It's on Digital Hot Dogs. Stick around. Other great bands coming up. Thanks for listening. And thanks to Safehouse for having us. All the crew here. Fucking awesome.
Brief intermission.
Change the string. This time we change the guitars.
Questions of just what's the change. Under the bad boss didn't know it. One thing's clear. These actions are here to stay. Get out of that cage. You said something I don't know who put you there or who's gonna blame. It's been for far too many years. That's not something over on your road to feet. You're fighting the fear and being the satisfaction. Generation, independence, and never upset and that comes easy. But that is not moving. To keep the peace of God in your hand instead of their way. Go and back, fishing in our time and never say it's off track. Survival, the final mission to keep the peace of God in your hand instead of their way. Go and back, innovation in our time and never say it's off track.
Thanks, y'all, again. Cheers.
Yeah, thank everyone. Thank you, Tori. Thank you all in the room.
Thanks for being here.
Flies have fallen dead on my lonely back. They flapped their wings till they fell fast asleep. They are resting peacefully in
Down since Wayne's World, the other part. And we're back right here. Welcome and bienvenue. Come right into the Safe House. And that was, of course, the Reeks. Raw power, straightforward. Not just punk. I said punk earlier, but I feel pure rock and roll influence in there. Am I wrong in that, Aaron?
I mean, no, I don't know. I mean, if I could see some of those elements in it for sure. Definitely a part of the influence.
But for us rock and roll, there's so many subgenres. Like, would you consider punk rock a subgenre of rock and roll? Or is it just sort of one and the same infused with different elements?
You know, I think even within punk rock, which is a subgenre of rock and roll, I think you have 100 different subgenres within punk rock. It's just a splintering log. But, you know, I mean, outside of labels, I think what matters most is the values about why you're doing what you're doing and how you treat the people around you and the community you're a part of. But yeah, you're right. Definitely the subgenre thing. Yeah.
So in that case, why the Reeks? What value are you seeing in your music in that case? Because I like the way you put that.
Yeah. Well, I think the values that that we came out of particularly revolve around DIY, which is much of a rust word as any. But particularly to define that a little more, it's taking accountability, standing up for a variety of different social justice-based causes, to recognize economic and social justice as a reality, and to try to figure out those answers as a band, as a community of friends that play in other bands. Trying to find alternatives and solutions to provide for one another, I think, and that's how I kind of come to recognize DIY. And that, I think, within that, because you got the genre component of the musical style, but then you have the values and the way that people exchange and engage with each other. And I mean, I don't know, it's not so much considered a genre, it's a community. And so how do we define that, and how much and what relation does that have with the music we're playing?
It's a true culture, not just punk rock music. I know what you mean with the DIY scene. I've done that before in East Texas, is where I'm from originally. We used to put on a lot of DIY shows in halls, random places. We actually had a venue that we called the DIY Spot. Nice. And a lot of people, sadly enough, kind of lost that idea that it was very bringing all your own stuff in, bringing the people, you know, really pushing, hey, come out and do this, kind of an all ages push for it as well. And that's different from some places to another as far as the all ages thing, but just a really welcoming and open community.
Totally.
Yeah. But anyway, I wanted to move on because Redbeard26 on the Twitch feed, he's around a lot and we like him a lot. He always has great questions to ask. He actually wanted to ask a couple of things, so I'm going to ask one at a time for these answers, and here they come to the Reeks. Redbeard26 wants to know your take on if you have any idea between the San Antonio punk scene and the Austin punk scenes. If there's any differences, similarities, or maybe some things that you like, or
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think any city has a different community. There's definitely been connections between them and groups of friends, like friends in San Antonio that book a lot of shows. A lot of friends in the metal scene out there too. Our band, particularly, our bassist is from San Antonio, but I think it extends throughout Texas. You have Houston as well, Corpus, the Rio Grande Valley, El Paso. I guess particularly for me and my connection has been mostly rooted around like activist circles in relation to music. But yeah, absolutely, the San Antonio scene, a lot of incredible people out there, and within the DIY community, within all sorts of different circles, doing great events and benefits, working with music as a way to launch social change in their community. Yeah.
Oh, that's really great. Yeah, I agree, because all over Texas you find really unique little DIY communities, not just these big venues putting on these big foes, but really a community of players.
And they're reactionary to the politics and the circles and the things that they deal with, There are definitely similar situations that we all deal with. Political situations that are occurring in San Antonio are occurring in Austin, are occurring in Houston. Things even as direct as personal relationships and like working to enable equity within our social circles, like seeing countless situations occur in Houston. How does that impact the people in Houston? How does that impact the scene in Austin, and so forth, and all the cities and communities in Texas? So yeah, there's definitely always been a strong network of connection between them. I think particularly too, if you think about Texas as a region, there's a lot of distance between like a lot of other states and city lines, and so because of that, I think people in Texas definitely have a sense of solidarity and a kind of a sense of connection between each other. It's like, where else are you gonna go? Like 3 or 4 hours just to get to Houston, whereas in like some other cities around the states or in other countries, it's like you'd already be in another state, if not other country, by that point. So it's like, there is definitely that strong connection.
I've always thought that Texas, not only with the DIY punk scenes, but even in, the classic sense of the Western country genres and all that, they have really very tight-knit communities, and they all support themselves. And I've always seen that, especially in Texas. You could go and have a really successful just jumping around, hopping around, playing shows all in Texas and have a really blast, meet some cool, interesting people. And the best thing about that is because Texas is so huge and far separated between the cities, you meet so many different people and so many different ways of these DIY communities putting on their shows, and you may learn things from them, they may learn things from you, and in the end, what happens with one affects the whole.
And I think though too, I think we need to break down those kinds of words like community, and also recognize that although there is a lot of differing it's a vast network. There's still much more too that we can do to be more inclusive and more diverse. I think we are also kind of dealing with an inherited socio-political climate that it has historically and is inequitable. And recognizing like the segregation that still kind of unfortunately inhabits our cities, and we see it continually happening through policies, through economic development. So why are certain communities so? Because there's not one, like when we say DIY, I think that's also something to make clear. It's not one it's a lot of different groups that have a lot of different ethics, and when we say those kinds of words, they can be interpreted in different ways. So being as clear as we can, and trying to really define what those words mean together, I think is really important, to recognize ways to reach out to other groups of people and support one another, and not, I think those are all important things to consider moving forward within what we considered DIY music, or DIY communities, and in whatever way, capacity they tend to evolve.
I really like that sentiment. That's wonderful. I don't know if I could put it in better words myself.
I'm a little scrambled, sorry, but trying my best.
So with the music, another question that Redbeard had actually was if you could bring back a punk band, that's no longer around, would there be a band that you would want to bring back?
Oh man, Whew. So many bands. I don't know. I feel like for me, like nostalgic wise, like man, I'd love to see Crimpshrine would be awesome. They're a huge influence on me. Like I grew up like listening to a lot of the early early Lookout East Bay kind of scene. So that'd be cool. 15 would be awesome. They'll occasionally do reunion shows. Outside of that, yeah, there's tons of bands. God, that's a good question.
Would you have the same answer for maybe a band that you would yourself want to maybe perform with?
Oh man, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Op Ivy would be another, just for nostalgic purposes. That band's just a lot of fun. Grew up on them.
Awesome. I like that answer a lot. Believe it or not, when I was a teenager, I was in a punk band myself called the Snapnecks.
Whoa.
A lot of fun. Had a lot of 45-second, 1.5-minute songs. And I did take the chance to listen to some of your music on Bandcamp. And that is something that I notice. Sometimes you just listen to music and sometimes you look at it, you look at the song list, and also the song length. And that's something that I notice. A lot of true punk rock bands sometimes, you know, when you put that in your dictionary, punk rock, you look it up, 2 minutes or less a lot of the times. Is that something you agree with? Because I feel like a lot of the times there's really a straightforward message. Let's get it out of the way. Here it is. Take it, leave it. I don't care.
I think it can. I think it definitely can be. I guess it depends in what way. Because like we said before, like kind of how community is kind of this rest word. I feel like over the generations, punk has become that same thing. Every generation kind of has a different definition, or each micro community kind of refines and defines it how they think of and what elements they're taking from of its historic past. So like, you know, punk could be a movement in the 70s. It could be and personally for me, like I do appreciate kind of shorter sentiment things, but there's definitely bands I've heard that have incredible punk sentiment and like attitudes about them, but they'll do work that's like don't fit at all the aesthetics that are actually very uncharacteristically of what certain groups and identities have considered punk in the past. So I guess it depends on which way you're coming at it from. But you know, I've always appreciated short and sweet too. I think there's something nice about trying to be more direct and just quick about what you're trying to say. But yeah, it just depends on how and what way you're doing that.
So punk is punk. Would you say it's more of a feeling than anything else? I feel like we've just been trying to break down what is punk rock music to its core, but that is not very punk rock of me, at least, trying to do that.
Maybe we don't have to, and maybe we don't need to think of it as like a general way, like to define the entire nation, or you know, maybe it's okay for a group of people in Austin. Even a small circle, maybe a few different circles of friends to define it their own way, but maintain a sense of support for one another, and that can be a punk sentiment, you know, solidarity, but enabling autonomy at the same time. Because the thing is when you start to get into like the kind of nation state of like linguistics around terms like community and punk, it's important to enable people to identify themselves and it's okay. We don't have to agree on everything, you know. That's okay. But like what I can recognize in groups of people that I've come across that associate with those terms, we do have things in common, values in common. You know, I have family in New Zealand. Went over there and toured, and it's so reassuring to find the whole different group of people that are organizing, doing all sorts of different things that I am not privy to because I didn't. I spent a lot of time there growing up, but like wasn't there every day, you know? But there are values that overlap, and I can recognize the people in New Zealand, I can recognize the people in San Antonio, I can recognize the people all over that are sharing those values, and I can support them, and yet still maintain our own autonomy here in Austin, because they couldn't know what we're dealing with entirely, and we can't know what they're dealing with entirely, but we can support them.
I think the differences are really what makes us beautiful, all individuals and everything like that.
100%.
So I had a one question of my own, and I think this is really defining of the character of a person. Corn or flour tortillas?
Damn. I go back and forth. I mean, I definitely feel like if I'm feeling like I want to be like a little lighter on my feet, I go with corn. if I'm feeling like I need something just really heavy, a lot of time I'll go with flour. I go back and forth, but yeah. What's your answer?
Well, my preference is actually corn for tacos, like all the time, no matter what. But when it comes to like a big burrito, you gotta have the structural integrity of the flour tortilla, I think.
I agree. You know, I guess it depends too. Like, does the corn? I've had corn tortillas that you would wonder how are they holding it all together, but they hold fast. You know, just depends on the tortilla, I guess.
Tasty magic, I think. I think it's tasty magic. 100%. So I had a couple of questions. I'm thinking about turning them into segments maybe later on. Sure. Get a little graphics, but. We missed our funding this month, or this day, today, not at all. I like looking over and saying things at the crew because they smile or laugh or giggle or shake their heads or don't really do anything at all because I'm like, dang it, stop trying to distract me. I'm trying to do my job. But anyway, I have a couple of questions. And it's called How Many Bats? How many bats? It's something like that. A little bat would fly across and go, Kah! Like it would crow, like a crow, but more like a pigeon crow. So go, Caw, how many bats? And then flutter away.
You got that in post?
Well, it's live.
Yeah.
Someone come up here and just flap their wings. Nope. Anybody? Any takers want to come up here and just come on. No? Any takers? We need a bat graphic. You're all fired. But anyway, the segment How Many Bats has to do, how many bats flew out from under the South Congress Bridge on the 1st of October? How many bats?
3,212.
Sadly enough, no. The answer is 3 bats. 3 bats flew out. 3. You did have a 3, but it was only 3. But in fact, according to the Bat Conservatory in Austin, somewhere between 750,000 and 1.5 million bats inhabit the South Congress Bridge during the summer months.
What were they doing in that time? Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It's all Batman, or is it the Batmen?
I mean, there's no telling what they could be doing on Halloween.
So here's another question I had. Yes, it does depend on what they're doing on Halloween. Here's another question about who would win in a West Side Story brawl. Are you familiar with a West Side Story?
A bit.
Da-da, da-da, so a bunch of guys are combing their hair. Okay, so which 2 groups of people would win in a fight?
Got it.
The University of Texas Marching Band, aka the Show Band of the Southwest, or a baker's dozen of Henry Rollins's. All clones, all the same.
Oh,
Baker's dozen. I think that's 13, right? Baker's dozen, 13. Baker's dozen 13, guys? Or am I just an idiot?
6,
Is it?
right? No.
No, it's 13. It's 13. So okay, so who would win? The marching band or Henry Rollins?
I'd like to think Henry Rollins would have some sort of motivational speech that would just stun the band to a point that he could rise to victory.
I like that. But anyway, hey man, it's been a lot of fun talking to you. I think I was just getting the wrap it up signal from one of the guys. Yeah. You wanna fight about it? He doesn't want to fight about it. He doesn't want to do it. But anyway, hey Aaron, it's been a lot of fun talking to you tonight.
As well. It's been a pleasure.
Man, but before we go, real quick, is there any place that you guys are playing soon here in Austin, here in town? Whereabouts in Texas?
I think right now we're actually working on some new recordings. So we should have a new release coming out pretty soon. And yeah, that's we're kind of focused on that right now. There might be a few more shows coming up, and if you're interested, definitely check our social media or Instagram, Facebook, shit. And yeah, that's where to find us, I guess.
At thereeks.com, 100reeks.com / the Iron Islands / the Reeks. But thanks again, man.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Seacrest out.